Stalker 2 is important for the gaming industry because it proves a point. And the point is that it isn't gamers having too high expectations, but it is studios and publishers who can't deliver. Of course, it isn't just Stalker 2 that proves the point. It is also Kingdom Come Deliverance, Baldur's Gate 3, etc. But Stalker 2 is an illustrative example. A small team with a small budget delivers, aside from the technical issues that I'm sure will be patched soon, a 10 out of 10 game, a big AAA game. And some may ask, how exactly does it prove that it isn't gamers having high expectations, and that's the studios and publishers that can't deliver good games? I'm really not a fan of analogies, but let me pull out one. Imagine that you hired two guys to dig holes. One guy has a shovel, and the other guy has an excavator. And the next day you see that the guy with the shovel dug a bigger hole. So you go and ask the guy with the excavator why his hole is so small. And he responds that you have too high expectations. Well, it isn't true, because the guy with the shovel is a living proof that it isn't true. Because if someone with less resources do a better job than someone with more resources, then probably someone is doing a bad job. The same story as you have guessed with video games. When you blow $400 million on a game called Concord, it isn't gamers' problem, and it is not the expectations issue. With those money you could have developed 4 Baldur's Gate 3 games. Yes, Baldur's Gate 3 budget was 100 million, and Concord cost was 400 million. One game became the game of the decade, and the other one became the biggest failure in the gaming industry. So when you blow 400 million, it isn't the expectations problem. It is you who are A. corrupt, B. out of touch, and C. you don't care about games. You don't love your games. Like, I can see that the developers of Stalker 2 love the game and love their fans. Everything in the game is made with their fans in mind. The mechanics, the lore, and the plot. Let me just say something about the plot of Stalker 2, because probably all the reviews that you have seen were made by people who got to play the game for like 15 hours. And they've seen nothing of the plot, because the plot thickens at the end, and it is great, and jaw-dropping. It is that good. Now, going back on the love subject, I can see the devs loving and caring for Stalker 2. I can see Larian loving and caring for Baldur's Gate 3. I can see Warhorse Studio loving Kingdom Come Deliverance. I cannot see, for example, Ubisoft loving their games. As you know, Ubisoft is on the verge of bankruptcy, and that's the result of not loving their games. Did you notice that the majority of studios that used to deliver great games from early 2000s up to 2015 are not delivering good games now? It doesn't matter how big those studios are. Ubisoft, Bethesda, BioWare, even Sony barely delivers any games. Sony is focused on remastering games that they released earlier. By the way, all those Sony re-releases are similar to what Bethesda did with Skyrim. How many remasters did Horizon Zero Dawn get? And The Last of Us? They are re-releasing the same games that they already released. And they're remastering games that don't need it. And the point that I'm trying to make with this video is, let them die. Let those studios die. Give up on the games that you love, if you want to have them back and good again. If the studios that holds the rights to your favorite games can't deliver, then by supporting those studios you are only twisting the perception of those studios, and you make them die slowly. They have to either hear the fans of the series, or die. And fear not, your favorite games won't die forever. It will take time, but it is inevitable that someone who will hear the fans will buy the rights to your favorite games and will give it a new life, a good life. And the key to that good life is to listen to the fans, because they often know what they want. Like what Stalker 2 developers did. I was never a hardcore Stalker fan, even though I've played the first game and liked it. But, as with any game, there are hardcore fans that waited 17 years for a new game. And it is a game of their dreams. It is everything they wished for. Imagine that your favorite game will be everything you wished for. What is the game that you like? Maybe you like the Elder Scrolls, and you wish for the sequel to Skyrim. Imagine one day it gets released, and it is everything you wish it to be. The game of your dreams. By the way, I created a video series about how the ideal The Elder Scrolls 6 must look like. My videos are focused mostly on gameplay, unlike some videos you may see from Fudgemapod for example. So check it out. Now, what game do you desire? Maybe Half-Life 3. Imagine it gets released and it is everything you wished for. Or maybe you like Splinter Cell. Imagine it gets released and it is everything you wished for. Or maybe a new Mass Effect game or Dragon Age game. It is everything you wished for. By the way, we have almost got a Dragon Age game that had the potential to be everything we have wished for. But it took a drastic turn before it had a chance to become what it should have been. If you want to know more, check out my objective Veilguard critique, and subscribe to the channel while you're at it. Now, you may say that it is impossible to have all of those games back and good again. Oh, but it is. And there are multiple examples where a video game series died and then got reborn anew. Here are some examples. One of my favorite game series, Devil May Cry. There has been Devil May Cry 1, 2, 3, and 4. Then Capcom sold the rights to the series to Ninja Theory, and they released an awful game that tried to reboot the series. Ninja Theory named the game DMC. The fans didn't like it and it died. Later, Capcom got the rights back and created a beautiful continuation named Devil May Cry 5. The soft reboot got cancelled, and the fans of the series got a game that is everything they wished for. And that's not the only example. A beautiful story of Remedy Studio that bought the rights to publish their game, called Alan Wake. Long story short, Microsoft owned the rights to publish the IP, and apparently they didn't want to invest in the development of Alan Wake. So, Remedy, loving their fans and their games, released a couple of games, made some money and bought the rights to publish their own game. And now we have a beautiful game, Alan Wake 2. A similar story with Baldur's Gate 3. Even though Larian doesn't have the rights to the game, but they got the license to create Baldur's Gate 3, and it turned out to be probably the game of the decade. The point is that IPs, intellectual properties or rights to publish and develop games, are valuable, and nobody's going to give up on them. And if a game series is dead, but it has a fan base, it will inevitably have a second life, especially if it was successful once. But for the series to have a second life, it has to die first. At least, in my opinion, at this point, you have a better chance to get a good Dragon Age game from any other studio that will pick up the rights to the IP rather than from BioWare. Ideally, of course, if a studio releases a bad game, it should look at the criticism from the gamers and suggestions of the fans to find the way again. But the pride gets in the way. The pride of some game developers, and honestly not only game developers but also filmmakers, is the primary reason why the companies keep releasing bad products. Because how can a bunch of nerds know better than me? And what choice do they have anyway? And yes, what choice does the gamers have? If you like Dragon Age series but you don't like the way the Dragon Age Veilguard is going, you have no other place where you can get a Dragon Age game. That's true. So, really, what choice does the gamers have? The choice to not buy it. The studios can't keep developing games indefinitely, because it costs a lot of money to develop games. And if you don't buy the games, they don't make profit of them. They don't make profit, they can't keep developing bad games. So they will either go bankrupt and sell the rights, or change their behavior and make good games. For example, I gave up on Assassin's Creed games a long time ago. And it's not only me, a lot of people did. And now Ubisoft is on the brink of bankruptcy. And the rumor is that a very bad studio is gonna buy it. So okay, 1. We had a lot of monetization issues in Ubisoft games, so I don't know if it can be worse. 2. Even bad studios sometimes release good games. For example, EA released Star Wars Fallen Order and Jedi Survivor. 3. Even if it can be worse, it should die again, and then it will have a chance to be reborn anew. And while we are waiting for those games to be reborn, we have new studios that release cool games. Stalker 2, Baldur's Gate 3, The Witcher, Cyberpunk, Kingdom Come Deliverance, and many more. new big studios emerge that love games, and if they too will get corrupt one day, there will be others that will emerge. But for now, thank you for watching, leave a generous and glorious like to this video, and check out this video while you're at it, or any other video on my channel. See you later.